Hi all, this is becoming a bit of a frequently asked questions over the internet and the forums, and a lot of people asking questions about how you build your standard WRX with an EJ205 to make 200 kilowatts, or well known as 270 horsepower. So I've compiled a list of things, or more likely, bolt-ons that you can put together to get to that 200 kilowatt holy grail. I guess we can start with a fuel pump. What's really common out there is the Walbro GSS 342, or you can get the Ditchworks DW200. The next thing you would upgrade is a 200 kilowatt rated turbo. The most common ones out there is the VF22, VF30, VF34, the VF48, or the TD05 18G. But yeah, I'm sure there's other turbos out there that you can get that will make similar power to that, but these are the most common ones that you can pick up secondhand or brand new. They're everywhere. In terms of intercooler, you can go two ways about it. You can go with an STI top mount intercooler, which you can get from the 9900 models, or you can get an STI top mount from the GD models, and they're usually just the bolt-in as well. Or you can go with a front mount, which would include cutting the front bar and some modifications around the engine bed to fit. Now, there's a lot of debate on the intercoolers as well. When you're chasing 200 kilowatts, the STI top mount is more than enough to make 200 kilowatts. But if you want to future-proof in case you'll be chasing more power down the track, there's nothing wrong with going with a front mount. And there's also a myth of your turbos lagging when you have a front mount intercooler on a 200 kilowatt setup. Having owned both cars, two cars that have STI top mount and a front mount intercooler, there's no lag at all. The car drives perfect. It just comes down to choice really, so it doesn't really matter. So if you want to go with a front mount, by all means go for it, but the STI top mount requires minimal work and it's just a bolt-on exercise. When it comes to the exhaust, you can go, there's plenty of brands around, but at the end of the day you just need a 3-inch turbo back exhaust. That means literally from the turbo all the way to the muffler, 3-inch. There's many different designs out there, there's many different combinations, but if you stick with a 3-inch turbo back exhaust with a decent dump pipe with a big bell mouth housing, that will make a massive difference in terms of torque as well. But for the purposes of this video, we'll just stick to the power, so a 3-inch turbo back exhaust will be perfect. In terms of the intake, you can stick with the factory plastic intake, or you can upgrade to a silicone intake. And I wouldn't bother with a pod filter. I mean, by all means, if you really want a pod filter, you can put it in there, but the pod filter, literally while it's in the engine bay, collects hot air. Whereas with the factory airbox, it collects the air from the guard. So if you put a decent sort of filter in that factory airbox, it'll do a more than adequate job. With your GC8 9900 model, you're better off going with a piggyback ECU, or send your ECU to get unlocked so that it's tunable, or better even, go with a full standalone ECU. That will cost you a bit more money, but a standalone ECU is what I highly recommend. And that sort of power figure is made on 98 octane fuel. With that same setup, if you wanted to go E85, I would highly recommend upgrading your factory injectors to something bigger than 750 cc's, or what's really common these days is the ID1000s. You get the ID1000 cc injectors. You can tune on E85, and that would give you an additional 20 to 30 kilowatt gain depending on your supporting mods. I'm sure everybody's got their own way about making 270 horsepower on a stock EJ205 long block. Obviously, if you add cams, you can play around with it a bit more. But with the setups that I've mentioned here in this video, you can get a decent, reliable setup which you can drive on every day. So if there's anything you wish to add to the video, or if there's any comment or other turbo setups or other setups that you've actually used to make that sort of power, if not more reliably, by all means please comment below and subscribe for more videos. Thank you for watching.